live stream on Facebook. Oh, this is exciting. Back to doing our thing. Okay.
I even did my makeup for you. Sometimes you haven't done makeup in a long time. You're like, how do I do this again? Oh, yeah, right. Practice
Right.
first.
All right. I am going to hit go live. And then I will share it from my phone into our group. Preparing live stream. Okay. Make sure everything's working. Turn my phone off. All right, we are live. I am so excited. Okay, everyone, I am going to just share this into our group. I don't want anybody missing anything. We have an amazing guest speaker today, and it's still actually only showing, still not working proper. Let me see if I can switch this view properly. What's immersive?
I'm not sure.
Gallery? Maybe that will. I just want to see if it flips it on the. Give me 1 second, everyone. We just want to make sure that you can see both of our beautiful faces at the same time. Hopefully that works. Give me 1 second. Okay, well, anyways, I'm going to just share this into our group anyway, so nobody misses anything, and then we'll see if this flipped. I hope it did. Okay. So, there it did flip. Okay, yay. Awesome. So I am so excited, you guys. We are back. Ask an Expert Friday is back. We are starting up our interviews now that summer's over. I have a special guest. First of all, I wanted to give a shout out to Deborah. Deborah, thank you for introducing me to Jeanell. This woman is like my soul sister. We have so much in common. And, I'm really grateful to have her on our Ask an Expert Friday today. I'm going to let Jeanell share a little bit about her background and a little bit about how she got started in this industry. But she's an amazing relationship coach. She works with a lot of different couples and a lot of business professionals as well. So, Jeanell, please introduce yourself to the network. Share a little bit about, where you were, how did you get into this industry, and share your story with everyone.
Thanks, Kelly. Hi, everybody. Some of you I'm sure I know already. Hi, Deb. Hi there. For those that don't know me, my name is Jeanell Greene. I live in Port Coquitlam, BC, Canada. I'm a relationship coach, marriage expert, and healer. And really, my mission is to transform families and bringing love and healing to the world. I was given this download a few years ago, and my whole life has changed. And so, prior to being a relationship coach, I was working in software sales, making gobs of money, going on free trips. I got to go to Bermuda, where my husband proposed to me. And then the year after, I qualified for Rome, and that's where we had our honeymoon. So our honeymoon was actually free, which was
Cool.
amazing. And then 5 days after coming back from Rome, I quit my job. There was some calling inside of me that told me that it was time to move on. It was like more of a cry and a sob, and then it became wailing. And I realized that as amazing as my job was, I knew it wasn't what I was meant to do on this planet. And around the time I was turning 40, and so I was really asking myself, like, okay, here I am at the halfway point of my life. What do I have to show for it? And then thinking about what the second half of my life was going to look like, I really asked myself, like, what is that going to be? And how is that going to be an evolution from who Janelle used to be? And I imagined myself at the pearly gates of heaven at the end of my life. And St. Peter says to me, Janelle, what did you do on this planet? How did you make a difference? And I realized I couldn't say much. I mean, sure, I donated a lot of money to my family. I helped probably almost a dozen of my cousins get through university. Like I did those things, but it wasn't me. It was kind of just like the whatever, like the excess. It wasn't a place where I had given my heart and soul to something bigger than me. And so as I started to get these downloads and really looking at like, okay, what about my life can I share with people that would help them get unstuck or pull them out of a difficult situation? And because I've been through so much myself, can I be their guide, their safe space, and cause transformation? So
Hmm.
when I was 9 years old, just a quick story. When I was nine, my dad cheated on my mom with my mom's best friend, got her pregnant, and left us. And then a year and a half later, my dad got sick. He had kidney failure and needed to go on a transplant list.
Hmm.
And he got his transplant, and then 13 years later, he passed away. The reason I tell the story is because, my mom forgave him. He came home, like they made up. My dad was a better father, a better husband. He found God again. Totally 180, transformation. And I really saw that, when two people are so committed to something, they will work through it. And especially when they're standing for their children, to have a whole family and they will put aside their own differences and mistakes, that miracles and love can happen. And I remember, sitting there watching my dad take his last breath. And it occurred to me that, had my mom not making the choice to forgive my dad probably would have died alone. And that would have been so sad and a regret I would have had. So, I'm so grateful for my mom to be the bigger person. And she really just wanted her kids to have a dad. And the beautiful thing about my mom is she really taught me forgiveness. And she never hung it over his head. She never brought it up. She didn't use it as a weapon or, the low jabs. She completely let that go. And so that really inspired me to look at, like, okay, how can I take that experience and really talk about how forgiveness is so important, not only for our partner, but for ourselves,
Hmm.
right? And then, so then my dad passed away. And that was when I was like, okay, I need a man. Like, I'm 24. I need a man. Like, my dad's gone. It was just this like thing in my mind that just switched. And so here I was, like, online dating and like trying to find the man. And I found a guy and we got engaged in like 3 months. It was so fast. But in hindsight, hindsight's so brilliant, right? Hindsight's 2020. And I look back and I realized that, I made that really rash decision and I really didn't think it through because there was fear there. There was fear of not being enough, fear
Hmm.
of not finding someone. Because to me, 24 was late. Like, oh my God, I'm late to the party. I'm already 24 and I'm still single, right? And now I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, what was I thinking? But it was really a function of lack and fear.
Hmm.
And so that's when I actually started to do the work because I realized like there was so much I expected from my husband, but really I needed to give that to myself first. And so I put so much pressure on him to be the kind of husband that I needed him to be, but it wasn't actually who he was. It wasn't innate for him. He wanted a wife, but he didn't want to, sorry, he wanted to be married, but he didn't want to be a husband. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I felt like a check mark in his little to-do list for life. And that was it. I didn't feel like he saw me as his partner, his queen, like not at all. And so I became very bitter. And as I was going through my separation, realizing like, okay, what is it about me that I keep attracting crappy men? Like I'm the
Yeah.
common denominator, right? And what I realized was that I hadn't healed the stuff with my dad, which was trust. I can't trust people. I'm unlovable. And what was my other belief? Everybody I love will leave me.
Mm.
And I hadn't realized that that was running the show since I was nine until I was like 26, 30, maybe even. And so since then, I've been doing the work to really heal that. And as a result, I've been able to manifest the man of my dreams, who is like my hero, my chivalrous, like knight in shining armor. He's my best friend. He's my playmate. He's my lover. He's my cheerleader. Like he's a 20 out of 10 man. And all my friends are like, does he have a brother? Can you clone him? I'm like, I wish I could because I would be a freaking trillionaire. But what I could do, what I realized I could is just extract what I learned from this man, extract what I think is that secret sauce that has us be so hot for each other, even after 20 years, and try to teach that or try to make a difference in the world. So, that's why I do what I do. And, I remember the first month or two that I became a relationship coach, someone approached me and said, my 10-year-old daughter just told me she never wants to get married at 10. So this is the kind of generation or, like legacy that we're leaving is that we're scaring our children from actually the one thing that we're here for, which is love.
Right.
And so if, thank God me and my husband both had really great parents who were able to exemplify what that looks like day to day. But I am clear 90% of people don't have that example. And
Right.
even when it is a good example, there's parts of it that don't really work. And we try to fit into that model and then realize like, oh wait, that's not me. But if we don't have a strong structure of who we are authentically, then we're going to try to be someone else that we think we should be. And
Right.
we're going to go into people pleasing. And so that's really what I work with my couples, with my men. I love working with men. And I do that in less than 12 weeks. So I work, like, for example, in infidelity, and I can actually turn a relationship around from, I hate you, how could you, like just that anger and rage, to we will work this out in about 2 weeks.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about it because there's a couple key things that I heard in your languaging, and number one was taking ownership and responsibility for your emotions, your trauma, and the things that you've gone through. So let's talk a little bit about that. How
Mm.
does somebody that has gone through infidelity or, feeling like less than or not enough, or, when you're rolling over, you're not even cuddling at night, like, how does somebody build that back up to where it is, and how do you deal with letting go of that trauma?
Yeah. So there's this great saying that I say to myself probably almost every day. And it goes like this: pain and suffering only exist when you resist what is so. Pain and
Hmm.
suffering only exists when you resist what is so. So what that really means is like it is the like, no, this shouldn't be happening, or they shouldn't be this way, or I shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't be this fat. I shouldn't be this ugly. I shouldn't be this short. Like all that shouldn'ts is the resistance of your reality. And so why are you fighting? It's like pushing against a brick wall.
Right.
So you got to just stop that, like, and get first of all neutral to like, you know what? It is what it is. Life is happening right now. I think, part of the pain we were talking about is the meaning that we add to what is happening. So, for example, when money is low as entrepreneurs, right? When money is low, clients aren't coming in. What do we make up? We make up, we're not good enough. We suck. Maybe we should be doing something else. That's the pain. What's happening in the business is just that's the ebb and flow of entrepreneurship.
Right.
But when we add all that, and where does that come from? That comes from trauma, from emotional wounds as children, our own insecurities, our ego. Oh my gosh, the ego. Oh my gosh, we have a whole episode all about the ego.
Yeah.
But unless you know that what that is, like for me, until I realize like, oh, I don't trust man, I'm unlovable, and everybody I love believe me. Until I saw that, it was like controlling me, controlling my thoughts, and I was so anxious. But once I saw that and I saw where it came from, I could just catch it and be like, oh, there it is again. And I can actually let it go.
Right.
So life is never going to be perfect. But when we can have tools and awareness to go, oh, this is what's happening right now. My ego is triggered and I'm being triggered because I used to be bullied as a kid. And I'm having that same emotional experience. And I can distinguish that they're two separate events, but I'm being triggered by this thing what happened to me when I was 10.
Yeah.
Now we can kind of let that go. I'm like, okay, and bring compassion and love to ourselves.
Right.
But we can't do that for other people until we know how to do that for ourselves. And so many of us don't know how to do it for self because no one ever taught us.
Right.
Or we're so hard on ourselves that we're like beating ourselves up when we really know that, if we were actually being our own best friend, we would give ourselves a little bit of grace.
Right. And I can relate to a lot of situations, you know what I mean? Like, and I also went through Landmark, and which you also went through as well. So if
Right.
anybody is interested, we can send
Oh
you
my
some
God. That was
information.
my aha moment. That was my
Right.
holy crap moment at
Yeah.
21 going, now I
Right.
get it. So that was
Right.
the start of my,
So yeah, so for my like I kind of went through something similar too, is I didn't realize what had happened to me at a very young age. My grandpa went, dropped me off at horseback riding lessons and never came back. He ended up passing away, and I was traumatized, and I felt like, I I'm just going to be abandoned. And I didn't realize until I went through Landmark that I was carrying that around. Like, what's the point?
Right.
Because you're going to leave anyways. And I had
Yeah.
that story running in my existence. And, you know, I always met asshole men,
Yeah.
and they always ended up leaving. And I was like, okay, well,
Mhm.
what's the common denominator in all this? And it was me. And until I actually started to raise my self-worth and my value, I went through many different relationships, and one I was even engaged to, and I didn't even know until after we broke up 10 years later that he was the one cheating. But I was the one getting blamed for everything. So, I had a lot of
Mhm.
things to go through in my own life, and to get clear on who I am as a person, start to love myself again. And now I've attracted my soulmate as well. And, it's the best relationship I could ever have. And, you can't attract what you want in your life until you clean up what you're going through. And I think that's really important. And you touched on that is because, when you started to focus on yourself and get clear on truly what you wanted, that's when you attracted your dream man. And like,
Yes.
you know, it's we're not saying that your life is a mess, but there's things that happen to you at a very young age that your DNA is literally holding on to, and you don't even know
Yes.
that you falling off a bike when you were a kid could literally make you have a fear of bikes, as an example. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But then you don't know that you're living your whole life, and the trauma that you've incurred is actually shaping who you are in your future.
Yeah. There's I've been listening to a lot of Wayne Dwyer lately. So good. And he keeps saying, you don't always get what you want, but you always get who you are and what you are.
Right.
And as an entrepreneur, holy crap, like that is so true, right? Every time I invest my heart and soul into, let's say, a marketing strategy that doesn't work, all of a sudden I'm like totally poo-pooing on myself. I'm
Right.
like in blame mode. I'm blaming God. I'm blaming myself. I'm blaming them. And it's just like, oh, and then I catch myself. I'm like, ah. But yeah, we have to learn how to have that level of, first of all, integrity with who we are and like authentically know who we are and know the BS that we try to get away with,
Yeah.
you know, and call ourselves out. And even with my husband, I notice when I'm kind of being a jerk or being whatever, but I'm like, we have such a safe space that I can just call myself out and be like, hey babe, sorry I was being super rude to you or whatever, right? That wasn't about
Clean it
you.
up.
That was me. Um, and I'm gonna go and work on that and I'm gonna come back and let you know what I find. And then I come back and say, like, hey, that thing you said or really triggered me, and what I realized is I got what I remembered was being bullied as a
Okay.
kid, and and that circumstance really triggered me, and the fact that you didn't stand up for me reminded me of my friends who didn't stand up for me. And he was like, oh my God, baby, I'm so sorry, that's totally not. I'm like, I got it,
Right.
but in my mind I was like, he doesn't care, he should have stood up. A man he is, and this man is a freaking diamond, and yet here I am like making up all these stories. But again, this is not and has anything to do with him. This is all a function of what I've been through in the past,
Right.
where my now my defense mechanisms or my coping mechanisms are like at full play. And when we are in a stress response, we can't think logically. We're like in crazy town.
Yeah.
So we need to come
That-
out of crazy town to actually like think clear. So when me and my husband are upset, like my husband's the talker and the chaser, I'm the shutter downer and runner, right? So but he knows that about me. I'm like, "Hey babe, I just need 5 minutes to go and like collect my mind, my
yeah.
thoughts, because right now if we keep staying in this conversation, I'm probably going to say something super mean and then I'm gonna have to apologize for it. So I don't want to go do that. I'm gonna go deal with myself and I'll be back in like 5 minutes and we'll finish this conversation.
I just had this situation happen yesterday, and I gotta share it with you because my boyfriend was going to watch the Cowboys game with all his guys, and he was in a hoodie and a hat with Cowboys. And then when he called me after on video, I'm like, "Why are you in a different outfit?" And it triggered me. I'm like, "Okay, if you're going to a game, you're wearing a hoodie and a hat. what are you doing dressed up and in a different shirt now? Like,
Huh.
what's that about? Right? And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, I spilled something on my shirt, but it triggered me. I'm like, okay, did you really? Or are you actually out on a date with some other chick? And then I was like, oh wow, like that totally like replayed in my mind as like, holy, that's the old Callie resurfacing because I've always
Yeah.
not had that trust in a relationship before because these guys were doing shady stuff. So then
Sure.
he's like, babe, I said, who is it? Do you want me to knock her up? And I was like, okay, the old Callie's coming back up.
Gangsta.
He's like, and then it was funny because we talked it through, and he's like, babe, he's like, I'm 100% for you. We plan on getting married. Our whole lives are together. We communicate about everything and calm me down. And I said, and I was thinking about it in my head. I'm like, you know what? Like, I love him to death, and if we didn't have that open communication, we talk every day, and we laughed about it afterwards. Like,
Yeah.
babe, he's like, I was like, sorry, that was the Scorpio in me coming out, you know? And it was funny because it was like, he's like, I keep clothes in my car all the time. You know me, I always spill stuff on my clothes. I'm like, okay, well, but it having that level of communication in a relationship is so important because that
100%.
literally could make or break you, right? Like even me,
A
we've been together for 3 years, but those old feelings still surface. But you
100%.
got to put it in check and you got to communicate about it because if you
Yeah.
don't, like
Yeah.
that's the end of your relationship. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he understands, right?
My husband's dad passed away a couple years ago. And, so he kind of goes through these moods. And, usually he's really open with me. And there was a point where he was kind of closed down. And I started to get I felt like I was losing him a little bit. And so we went for a walk, and I just was just really vulnerable with him. And I said,
Hmm.
hey, this is what I'm feeling, and this is what I'm scared of. And
Right,
not any accusatory, but just like such a vulnerable, like opening my heart, being so transparent about my own insecurities.
right.
And I think sometimes women, when we're frustrated, our tone starts to sound really either naggy, judgmental, or like we're making them wrong. And I know because I work with so many men, like that just shuts them right down,
Even
right?
just a look on your face can trigger them if
A
you're
hundred
not careful.
percent. 100%. So yeah, we went for this walk and I told him and he's like, oh my gosh, honey, I'm so sorry. He's like, I'm just dealing with my emotions around my dad. I've got this stuff at work. But had I not asked him, had I started to make up stories like he doesn't care, he's slacking, he's cheating on me, I'm going to go now look at his phone and do all these crazy things, that would have just killed the trust. But no, I just was really straight with him. And it took a couple tries for me to finally get out what there was, but I could see him just grappling with his emotions. Like he couldn't quite put words into it.
Right.
But I trusted him. I trusted him to give him the space that he needed. I think when we get really anxious and we get super like helicopter girlfriend, helicopter wife, is all our own insecurities that we're projecting on them. And it,
Right.
it doesn't feel good to them.
No, no. I woke up this morning like, what the hell just happened last night? I was like, I can't like I have the man of my dream that reassures me every single day that we're gonna be together forever. But then my old triggers surface, right? And
Yeah.
the other thing too is it's very men bottle up their emotions. And let's talk a little bit about that because, they don't realize like their one thing that they do or their action triggers us to the point where we go down those rabbit spirals. But how do we get into the point in our relationships, whether you've been in a relationship for 20 years or if it's a new relationship, that you can open up the lines of communication right out of the gate? I think this is a
Yeah.
really important conversation.
Yeah, I can think of two, three things. Number one, the friendship piece has to be laid down first.
Yeah.
Too many women, and again, I work with a lot of couples. Too many couples, they get married because they got pregnant, or like they just rush the process.
Family is also
Sure.
plays a big part on, rushing things for you, whether it's a
Yeah.
marriage or anything,
So
right?
they don't lay down the foundation. Like, and if you think about a house, if you're not going to put a foundation, that house will be like a house of cards that will just fall over at
Right.
any point. The one thing with me and my husband is we were actually friends before we got intimate. And so that level of trust was already built But I believe so many people just rush into the romance, into the sex, into the
Love
those
bombing.
feelings, the love bombing, yeah. And then we all know that like your relationship will start to change, and people are like, no, 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 it needs to stay this way. Like, yeah, and realistically, like things are gonna change. Maybe you're not gonna have sex 7 times a day, right? Now,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe it's 7 times a month or but I think that's the number one thing I see. The number two thing I see is trust. So this is why communication is so important because if you don't know how to communicate without lashing out, having a little hissy fit or whatever you tantrum, whatever you did when you were a kid, when you didn't get your way, that will just shut men down. Because to me, okay, to me, when I think of a man coming to me, I would say the majority of them that come to me they just want to be their woman's hero. They want to be respected. They want to feel affection. They don't want to be rejected. And sometimes we don't realize that we're rejecting them in the way that we speak, in our body language when they come for a hug and we go, right? Just those
Yeah.
little things. Or like, hey, you're being too affectionate. Hey, you're being too loving. Hey, you're like, and my husband is very affectionate, like words, physical. I'm not as much, but I know that if I like shut him down all the time, that is going to drastically affect his ability to just trust me and lean into me and just be
Right.
himself. Now he's got to like second think it like, okay, is Jeanell going to reject me? And so
Right. And that's a
as
big bruise to a man's ego as well, when
yeah.
you're pushing them away.
Yeah. So, like I said, I deal with a lot of infidelity. And when I talk to the guy one on one, I'm like, hey, like what's going on? And he's just like, "Oh, we haven't had sex in 10 years. She won't even kiss me. Like, of course, I'm lonely. She's so busy with the kids. Like, I feel like so neglected. And then
Mhm.
she just gets mad at me about everything. So it's like no matter what I do, I can't win. And so now, yeah, now they're gonna start chatting with some other woman who's actually giving them attention.
Right.
Yeah, they're actually gonna pay attention when someone looks at them like, hey, you're hot. Like it's yeah, I think we judge men so easily and we don't actually take the time, and this is what I do with couples, to go, okay, how did I contribute to this mess?
I
What
was just gonna say
as a wife
accountability
or
of
as a
your own
girlfriend?
actions.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And even when I look at my parents, like my parents had a really great relationship and my dad stepped out. But like when I really think about it, yeah, sure, we could blame my dad, but my mom was so busy. My mom is like the socialite of socialites. And my dad was always home by himself with us. And he would always be like, honey, when are you coming home? And my mom's like, leave me alone. I'm busy. So, the fact,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that what my dad did was right, but I can really see from his lens is like, yeah, when you're lonely, when you haven't had affection, when you haven't got the attention, you can, those other outside influences can be very tempting. Who
Right.
doesn't want love and affection? Like, seriously, right? So I think we need to get responsible. And then to your point, communication, communication, communication. And that's the one thing that I think is missing in majority of relationships is the level of communication. So men don't talk, but then women talk too much, and the way they talk is not very
Yeah, it's talking down to them rather than
talking
talking to
down.
them.
Yeah, and with that very like condescending tone, and they're like, women will say to me, "Well, I try to talk to him." I'm like, "Yeah, but how do you try to talk to him?"
Right.
So
Yeah. And men are simple beings. Give
they
them
are,
love,
they
give
are.
them attention, give them affection, and feed them, and you're golden.
Yeah. Oh, okay, and then here's the last piece. Here's the last piece. Um, Set expectations. Do not think they can read your mind. No. It does not mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean anything like that. They just need instruction. So this is what I say to my husband. Honey, when I'm upset and I need to outflow, I'm going to say the word outflow and I need you to sit down and listen. I don't need you to fix me. I don't need your advice. I don't need any of that. I just need you to be with me. And when I'm done talking, I need you to hug me, tell me you love me, tell me, whatever, whatever, and then go get me some ice cream. So he has a step-by-step manual to how Jeanell needs him to show up in
Right.
those situations.
Right.
So here we are 20 years later, and he is still my hero.
I love that. Yeah.
because he knows what I need and he's not sitting there going, okay, what does Janelle need? And trying to read my mind. And then I'm going, no. And then what used to happen is I go, stop trying to fix me. That's what I would say. And so now he gets it. Okay, I don't actually have to fix Janelle. I just need to sit here, be the loving husband that I am, and then get my wife ice cream, and I get to look like the hero. And then the end result is me going, oh, honey, thank you for being there for me. You're so amazing. And then now he
Right.
feels good.
Yeah.
So he feels appreciated. But really, like, what happened? There wasn't any huge gesture. It was two people connecting, being vulnerable, being intimate, sharing what's going on, sharing expectations, and then appreciating the way that the other person showed up for them. And it just creates this beautiful energy that just is so. And so, my experience of my marriage, I would say in one word, is easy.
Yeah. And I think, what hearing that, I think the biggest thing is hearing and seeing the other person and opening up the communication lines. So you have to get to a point, and I'm still learning this. I mean, this is the first healthy relationship I've been in. Um, Even though, I still communicate with some of my exes and some of us were still in business together, but we got to the point where our friendship and business was more valuable than us trying to make it work. And
Sure.
I appreciate that. And the biggest thing is the you have to have the open lines of communication. You have to put in the work. You
Yeah.
really have to, because you can't just expect that your partner to understand what's going on in your head and vice versa. You have to sit down and communicate. Whether you're, up in arms in the beginning and, he did this or she did this or whatever. If you stop taking the blame and putting it on somebody else and you look inside of yourself, then it makes life easier and it also relieves a lot of stress and pressure off of you. I think it's so important in a relationship.
Yeah. And I think too is like we gotta remember that, man, we're all human. We all make mistakes. I totally mess up. Like when I'm in work mode, I forget things that I promised my husband to go get groceries, to get dinner, like and then I'll be like, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry." And he has just so much grace for me. He's like, "Honey, it's okay. I know you were busy." Like he's just like the most loving human. Instead of being like, "You didn't do this. You don't care. How could you? Like you said you were gonna do that and you didn't do it."
Yeah.
Right. So that's
Yeah, that just
what I teach. Yeah.
things like that can cause you sleeping on the couch. So you really want to, be a loving listener is a good term, I think, like, and accept the person for who they are. It's so important in a relationship, and I'm learning that myself because this is, it's such a breath of fresh air after being treated like crap for so long. But I also hold myself accountable for my past relationships too. And I think that's, once you get closure and you clean up what's going on in your own head, then you can make space for that kind of love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, if anybody would like to book Janelle for a one-on-one session,
Yeah, just
how can people get a hold of you? I'm going to tag you and put all of your information inside of the post once we're done. But how
yeah.
can people reach you? What's the best form of communication?
That's a great question. The best thing is just to message me on Facebook if this is through Facebook, or you can email me. You can check out my website too, which is
Yeah.
saveourmarriage.ca.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I've got what I'm creating for next year, and I'm just starting to create it now, is couples retreats. So I'm really looking at like how can we bring fun and romance and playfulness and reconnection into a space even in like 3 days while helping and teaching them new skills just a space for them to actually focus. Because I know my clients, right? They've got kids, they've got jobs, like even to ask them to spend 5 minutes together each day is a huge challenge for them. So to be able just to bring them away somewhere beautiful and on the beach, in a, spa resort, and just come together and create something new. I'm really excited about that.
I'm excited about that too. I'm coming on one of those retreats.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm planning one for Vancouver Island, and I'm also planning one probably is going to be in Tulum, Mexico.
Cool. That's great. So I'm going to make sure, all of Janelle's information is here so you guys can get in contact with her, book a
Mhm.
consultation call, see how,
Mhm.
have that open communication and conversation with her about where you're at in your life and your relationship. And, I encourage everybody to reach out to her. She's now part of our amazing network, thanks to Deborah. Again, shout out to Deborah. We love you, girl. And, this is just the start of a beautiful relationship with all of our, amazing people in our network. And I'm so grateful to have you part of it. I mean, having your expertise and your business that you're putting out, can only add value to all of our members. And I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to, get on this interview today and share, be vulnerable and share about your business, where you were, how you got to this place, and, what you've been able to do to support other couples with what they're dealing with. And I wanted to say thank you. And I also wanted to give you, credit for that because it's not easy in the coaching and especially in relationships. It's not an easy business to uphold, and you've taken that on, and I wanted to just give you, credit for that because I mean, most people can't even deal with their own relationship, let alone somebody else's. So
Thank you. And I just wanted to share, like, just before I got on this call, someone made a comment on one of my posts. And my posts are always about forgiveness, about responsibility, and a lot of people don't want to hear that.
Mhm.
And a lot of the feedback I get is quite mean, and maybe not mean to me, but the way that they talk about their partner. And I just got so present to how this job is so hard because I get to deal with people's ugliness
Mhm.
and their fears, and for me, like, I think the most challenging thing is not to absorb it. And oftentimes it can create a lot of resignation for me and cynicism about people, like, people are jerks, people
Yeah.
just give up on their merit, like. And I just have to kind of just check myself and be like, hey, Janelle, this is not about you. And what I have to say I get is super triggering and disruptive, and people really get upset. But the whole point of this is, I think, for me, is if I can just shake people awake, even if it hurts, then I'm doing my job. Because there's enough people out there saying really soft things and, like, empathizing. I was like, oh yeah, he's a jerk, leave him, all that. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You're not getting away that easily. Let's get real now. Where are you not showing up? Where are you responsible? Because this is a tango.
Yeah.
This is a dance. So where are you not playing nice? Or and not a lot of people are ready for that. So coaching is really for those who are like, okay, Janelle, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what a jerk I'm being so I can fix it, versus the ones who call me and say, Janelle, can we book appointments so you can tell my husband that I'm right and he's wrong? I'm like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. So yeah, this work is hard, but it also makes it so rewarding at the end when they come out of it being like, oh my God, we just had sex after 10 years and it was great. Now we're gonna have sex twice a week. Or, oh my God, um, my husband finally told me he loves me, or whatever. It's just that moment when everything
Yeah.
shifts. And it can happen in a split second. And when that happens, I'm like, yeah. So all that I've had to endure and the space that I've had to hold for these difficult conversations. You know what it's like sometimes? It's like dealing with people who are suicidal. It kind of feels like that. Like, please don't give up on your marriage. Your children need you, right? And they're on that bridge and be like, no, it's not worth it. I want to jump. It's that kind of intense emotion that I sometimes have to deal with when I'm standing for families. And I have to be careful that I don't want it more than they do. And if
Right.
they want to leave, then I'm going to have to be like, okay, I can't
Yeah,
do anything about that.
for sure.
But yeah, this work is not easy, but I love it.
I mean, even the conversation we had today even triggered up some of my behaviors from my past. Now I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to call my man and clean it up again today for my behavior yesterday, right? But that's about doing the work, right? So,
Yes.
I wanted to thank you again for this conversation. Again, anybody that's looking to get in contact with Jeanell, please reach out to her, book a consultation call, book a one-on-one session, go see her, go have coffee, whatever it takes. Just
Yes.
put in the work. Put in the work. Your relationship's worth it. You are worth it. And I want to just say thank you again. And if anybody else wants to do an Ask an Expert or Wellness Wednesday interview, we have spots available as well. So please get a hold of me. We would love to have you as a guest speaker on our new show. And thanks so much, Nell. I look forward to talking to you soon again and opening up more conversations for our members to, get unstuck where they are in their lives and put in the work. I mean, work.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful relationship and outcome at the end when you actually take ownership and responsibility for your actions.
100% in every area of life.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, bye everyone.
Thanks, Kelly.